Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 283rd episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter at HawkBlogger. And I'm joined tonight by the one, the only Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB. Evan, brother, man, how you feeling, man? It's been a while. You got a first place 5-2 Seattle
Mwah.
Seahawks team. How you doing?
Mwah. I'm doing so well. 5-2, top of the NFC West. I couldn't be happier. Did you see this video that a bunch of Jason Myers fans sent me from another continent? It just showed up in my email.
You know, I saw it because Tariq Woolen decided to share it as well.
I did find that out later after the fact. No, I'm doing well. I'm stoked about. That was a big win against the Browns. Like I know it's saying the obvious out loud, but like their trajectory, I think, as a team and like how they finished the season, the difference between 5-2 and 4-3, especially considering the next 4 or 5 games that they have, 2 Niner games, a Rams game remaining, like Cowboys, like this is a stacked schedule coming up. And, an extra leeway game is huge. And obviously they made a move at the trade deadline, which we can talk about if you want, but I'm sure you guys did awesome analysis the other day on it.
Yeah.
But this, I think you put it on Twitter today, Brian. It was like, it was something about this game. And we could say this every week, but like this game is a real test to see what this team is.
Yeah.
Right? If this team can get to 6-2, beating the Ravens in Baltimore, which is, by the way, there were doubts about the Ravens going into this year, and they've proven to be, I think, a very formidable opponent this year. And I'm concerned about some of their matchups with us, but we'll see. Yeah, no, I'm stoked. It's a big week. I'm pissed as fuck that the Niners traded for Chase Young, but
we'll get into that too.
I'm coping with it right now, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we will get into that. See, one of the things I was really looking forward to you getting on the show tonight, because we haven't talked for a little bit live, is I think you're in a really unique spot as a Seahawks fan right now. Because I think so. There's a group of fans that are just, the all in, always excited, everything's positive, like this is the best thing, don't say anything negative, Pete Carroll's the best,
sure,
Geno Smith's the best, like this is the best thing ever. And there's that group, and I identify with part of that. Then there's the group that is like, Geno is an absolute, he's clearly not the guy, don't want him here, he's holding us back, maybe a little bit more negative. There's the folks that are excited about the Leonard Williams trade, other people that feel like it was a really, too much, and like analytically it's like all like there's just kind of these divides of like pro and con. And I see you, other than your Jason Myers bullshit, I see you as kind of walking the middle, and you are not.
I am so stable.
You are not a moderate, dude,
and consistent. And I walk the line, and that's what I'm known for as a fan. That's what I've been doing for years. That's what I've been doing for years.
This is why it's fascinating, because it is so not you. You are the extremist in the group. And so, but I see you like, you don't know quite how to feel about Geno. You don't know quite how to feel about the team. I see you being more positive. Like, I feel like you like the way this team's going. I think you love,
yes.
I think you love Devin Witherspoon.
Yes.
I think you love some of these things, but I also think that you're not quite all in.
Oh, I'm definitely not. Oh,
so what's holding you back? What would change that?
I think, so let me level set by saying, and I think your commentary is spot on, by the way. I'm totally normally the extremist. So let me level set by saying this is the most excited I've been about a Seahawks team in like 6 or 7 years. Okay. So I'm pretty stoked. I'm relatively optimistic. I also saw how this Pete Carroll football team finished last year with the same quarterback at the helm. Yes, they've made improvements across the roster. Yes, they're yes, they had another strong draft. Yes, they made a trade at the draft, or a trade at the trade deadline. Yes, they had some free agent acquisitions come in that have totally surprised us. There's a lot to be excited about, but at the same time, the NFC still has some really strong contenders. And I'm not convinced that the Niners are fully demised and destroyed. Any Seahawks fan, by the way, who is like, Seahawks have this division in the bag. Disregard my tweets for a second, by the way. Disregard my tweets is deluded, okay? Is absolutely deluded, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been burned for a couple of years getting my hopes up, and I'm just a little bit more cautious this time around. There's a lot to be excited about. I'm bought into it, but I also don't think this team is perfect either.
Of course not. But like, what would it take for you to what's the next step? What's the next thing that you have to see to feel like, all right, I'm not on the fence or just on the ride. I'm actually leading the charge about this being great. Oh, we've got to welcome in Josh Cashman to the show. Super chat. He'd like to make sure everyone admits that we need Russ back.
I would like to see Geno groupies don't listen to this. I would like to see Geno Smith make better decisions. 5 interceptions in 3 games is it's a decent amount.
It is not sustainable.
It's not good, and no. I recognize that. I think we're in a little bit of a variance split right now, where he's probably getting a little unlucky, and I don't think this is probably quite his best he can do. But I'll just say this: when we get to the playoffs and we're playing legitimate playoff contenders and playoff football and every inch counts, this shit's not gonna fly.
Did you watch? I can't remember. Like, you started being a fan right around when the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl the first time, right? Like the Matt Hasselbeck era, right?
Exactly. So one of my first jerseys is a Sean Alexander jersey. Well, it's actually my first jersey, but right around when the Sonics left is kind of like when I started to get into football.
That's what I thought, because here's the thing. I think that 1,000,000% agree. Like, the team has a ceiling based off of how many mistakes Geno makes. Like, that's just a reality, and there's something there. I will say, though, I mean, you remember Matt Hasselbeck at quarterback. I think we got used to Russell at quarterback, and Russell was this extreme of rare, like, for most of his career, did not throw picks. Like, he had a very low interception rate. A lot of times he would hold on to the ball and get sacked and do some crazy things to avoid throwing it into harm's way. But he was very not conflict averse. He was very risk averse.
Sure.
Right. But he also threw touchdowns. So you had, like, what's generally a really good thing in a quarterback is if they throw a lot of touchdowns and they don't throw a lot of picks, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what made Russ.
Sure.
Hasselbeck got this team to a Super Bowl very different. He threw a decent amount of picks. He threw a decent amount of picks, but like, what changed for him over his career is he threw a lot of touchdowns, or at least increased his touchdown throws. And so that team was a little bit of a different formula. I think we all have the 2013 version in our heads, right? Where it's like all-star dominant defense, good running game, and a budding young quarterback with MVP potential, right? That was like a running quarterback, didn't throw a lot of picks. I guess what I'm wondering is, I wonder if the formula for this team is going to look a little different than that team. Like, how likely is it that they come up with the exact same formula 2 times in a row?
It's very possible that the formula is totally different. And that's funny because, like, I associate Pete Carroll with, like, such strong elite defenses, like, in my brain, for good reason too. And the reason I called out Geno specifically is I don't think either side of the ball is elite. I don't think this offense. I think we were hoping they would be elite. I don't think they're elite. I think they're very good. And
I don't think they're even that.
Okay,
the offense.
Okay, I'm totally cool with that. Like,
I think the offense is, like, there are people out there talking about the offense being, like, not Seahawks fans necessarily, talking about being very good. I see them as, like, pretty.
I think they're capable of being very good.
I do. I agree with that.
I think they are underperforming relative to their talent
Yes.
level, literally.
Yeah.
So when I think of the reason I called out Geno in your first question was I see such inconsistency on both sides of the ball. And yes, the defense is going on 4 straight games of not allowing more than 20 points or whatever, 21 points. But it's like then the offense turns to shit for large stretches at time, and they should be performing at a much higher level than the defense should be. Full stop.
Yeah.
Charles Cross is back. Abe Lucas is the only person that's gone, but Stone Forsythe seems to be playing that role okay. They've got Jason Peters. They're loaded at talent across the offensive line. I don't think Evan Brown has given up a pressure this year, is what I saw from Pro Football Focus. So I just don't see. I think like elite talent wins Super Bowls. And when I look at the Seahawks roster makeup, I'm not saying they can't go on a hot streak and win a couple playoff games. I think that's like kind of their ceiling and what I'm hoping for. But I don't think they're good enough, reliable, consistent enough at one position or side of the ball to overcome Geno making, 2-3 turnover worthy plays in a playoff game. And is that maybe a little unfair for me to be placing that burden on Geno to be that type of guy? I don't know if it's. I don't know. He has a $30 million deal up to $35 million. Like that's not chump change. Like
no, I think like the way it looks like in numbers for Geno, I think he's got to be in the 25 to 30 touchdown range, passing touchdown range. Like I think that's important. I think he's got to be able to put points on the board that way. Ideally more than that, but 20 like the NFL is kind of going in reverse with offense all of a sudden, and quarterbacks like there's
100%.
There's nobody on path to be like a Tom Brady, even Patrick Mahomes from the last few years where he's throwing 50 touchdowns in a season. Like 30 to 35 touchdowns is probably going to lead the league.
And I got to give him credit here. Like that drive that we saw at the end of the Browns game against the number 1 rated defense in the NFL gave me actually so much hope. Like maybe he could be that guy in a do or die scenario in a playoff game. Maybe he could be.
That's so fascinating because I think that makes a lot of sense. I think you and a lot of other Seahawks fans, there's a significant chunk of Seahawks fans who place an inordinate amount of weight on how a quarterback plays at the end of games, like in the clutch.
Yes.
And I think that's part of why people got so excited about Russ too. Not only did Russ have a lot of talent, but he had this comeback ability. He had this last 2 minutes of a half. He shined in those moments.
But and I think there's kind of a reason behind it is I feel like I've been socially conditioned by Pete Carroll to an extent because how many games, legitimately though, how many games in the last 5 years have the Seahawks blown out an opponent?
It's rare.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying it's a good thing to blow out your opponent, obviously, but they typically play close games.
Yeah.
So having clutch players at clutch
people forget the 2013 squad though, and that era. Actually, they absolutely led the league in point differential. Like they were winning. They did have a fair number of blowouts. We didn't always feel that way because they also had the Rams 13-10 wins. Golden Tate, waving at people, that kind of stuff. But I guess part of what I'm getting at, Evan, is I'm wondering if there's going to be a different formula here. I think Geno's a guy that seems to throw the ball in harm's way. I do think he's going to need to get better about that, or there's just a ceiling, period. Like that's just real.
Yeah.
But I wonder if part of the formula is Marshawn Lynch was a pretty big part of that Super Bowl team, and the run game was a pretty big part of that team. And in fact, that kind of is what came first. And right now, it seems like a secondary part of this team. And I think it doesn't get almost any real critique or scrutiny. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, Zach Charbonnet looks fucking good, dude. Like he's averaging 6 yards a carry every time he touches the ball. I'm like, this is going to be at least something, if not something really good.
Totally different than preseason too, by the way.
Oh my God, he looked bad in the preseason.
We were concerned about him.
Oh, dude, he looked like he was
whatever
running in molasses.
It was bad, yeah.
But no, he looks really good. Kenneth Walker's good. And they had 13 carries against the Browns. Both of them averaged 8 yards plus a carry. I literally think Charbonnet averaged 10 yards a carry and he got 4 carries or 5, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I feel like part of the way you have Geno take less chances is that he has less attempts in the game, and that you're getting more situations where it's, 2nd and 3, or that, you're picking up like a few plays in a row where the run game and the teams are having to adjust to the run. Maybe they have one less player in the secondary to pick off a pass. Like, I feel like there's maybe something else that needs to happen there to help Geno, and it feels like it's really, really all like gone onto his shoulders. I'm not sure that's the path to really reaching where they need to go. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
No, it does. I think Geno groupies don't want to hear it, but his ceiling is limited. Sorry. His ceiling is limited. He's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He's
not now.
Definitely not now. He's
Yeah.
like, if this is a bottom tier defense in the NFL, he's not going to drag this team to 12, 13 wins. That's not who Geno Smith is. And very rare quarterbacks are, right? So that's okay. But I feel like too often we witness Geno get into a headspace where he just feels like he just starts forcing balls.
Yeah.
And it's repeated.
Yeah.
And it's like, he gets in his zone. And then he kind of steps back and kind of figures it out again, like mentally, psychologically. But it feels it comes in bunches for Geno. There was like 4 or 5 consecutive plays last Sunday, or maybe within like 6 or 7 plays, where Geno like was making questionable decision after questionable decision, and it feels like for whatever reason he starts to force things.
Can I give you the Geno Smith get well plan?
Give me the Geno Smith get well plan.
You are Geno Smith. You're coming into the doctor. I'm writing you a prescription. Okay.
Ooh, Dr. Brian, what are you going to prescribe me?
You're going to start with doing things that you did last year. This isn't even new things. This is the first part of the year. One of the things Geno Smith that got me excited last year was he would make on-time checks to his check down receivers. He would swing it out to his running back in the flat. He would hot check to like one of his receivers, like for a couple yards. And he would not stay focused downfield going through like locked on. So number one, if it's not there, check it down. Take the 3 to 5 yards. That's one. I'm not seeing him do that. When he does do it, he's doing it late. He's doing almost the Russell. This was a weakness of Russell. Russell would hold on to the ball. He would check down way too late, and there weren't yards to be had. 2, you're going to throw the ball away when you don't have something. He did this last year pretty well. He would throw it. It was 2nd and 10 instead of 1st and 14 or 16 or an interception, because he just was like, all right, it's not there. I'm going to throw it away. There was this maturity to his game, checking down, throwing it away when it wasn't there. That's 2. 3, you're going to stop forcing the ball to DK Metcalf.
Oh my God. It's so
like, if he's open, if he's the guy and he's there, great. But do not treat him like AJ Brown. Do not treat him like a player that can make contested catches, that's going to out physical or out jump a guy. That's not what's happening. So treat him like another receiver. If he's open, great. If he's not, you don't force it. And number 4, you get Shane Waldron to run the ball a little bit more and give you a little bit more balance to the way you're attacking defense. You do those 4 things. I think even if you just do the first 2 things, I think you see a measurable difference. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between Geno now and the Geno of the first half of last year.
It definitely feels like he's taking worse sacks this year.
Yep.
I could be wrong, but that's like the shitty memory test that I feel like is accurate.
He's forced a lot of passes, like you've said, and that's just not going to work. On the 49ers thing for a second.
Yeah.
Can we just get this on record of as much as I hate, I hate the fucking I hate them. You and I love giving them shit.
Of course.
There's not for 1 second that I think that the Seahawks are better than the 49ers. Correct. I think that they could beat them. I don't think that they're better. And this idea that, they've lost 3 in a row. Oh my God, do I love that. But it's so fun.
Have you been reading their post-game threads in the
Niners
subreddit? The Niners subreddit post-game thread,
What? Tell me.
that
Feed
is
me.
X-rated,
Feed me.
like
What?
self-pleasing material. Let me tell you, here I was in bed at night after the Niners lost last Sunday, and
Uh-huh.
it's like 9:30 p.m. and the phone's like this close to my face, and I'm just scrolling through these comments, Brian, and let me tell you, that is self-pleasing material. It
Oh
is.
my
The
God. Is
freakouts
it
are
like
incredible. The Wilkes freakout,
Fire Wilkes, right?
Fire Wilkes, Nick Bosa, where the hell is
Yeah.
he? Brock Purdy,
Yep.
it's. I'm trying to think who else they've been complaining about. It's really their defense that they're complaining about, and that's,
Yeah.
to be fair, like the right place to be complaining about because they're
Well,
suddenly bad.
so yes, that is like I will just lap that up whenever we can get it. I
We
mean,
might not get much more of it.
I don't know how much more, but let's not kid ourselves. As soon as Trent Williams comes back, I think the offense will be just fine. Deebo Samuel's been out. I think that certainly. I think they can win without Deebo Samuel, but I think Trent Williams. I don't think they can win where
He's
they
the
want to
most
go.
important player on their football team.
100%.
Most important player. Most important player.
Which, by the way, is
he's the best left tackle in football.
He is. He's one of the best left tackles ever.
Yeah.
He is also their window, as far as I'm concerned.
How old is he?
He's like 35, I want to say. Maybe older. Let's look it up.
Trent Williams just turned 35 6 months ago. Well, just 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there have been talk about whether he'd retire at some point. So, like, that's already started. At most, you got maybe 2 more seasons out of this guy.
We should bribe him to retire as soon as possible.
I'm sure we've got the money to do that.
Like, can we reallocate some of these like donation funds for autism?
All right. I think people would be into that. I think people would be into that.
It's a worthy cause.
It is. It is. I mean, almost as worthy as the other stuff that we do.
Can I just say one more thing on this?
Yeah.
Everyone was shitting on. Well, I saw a lot of coping on Seahawks Twitter about the Chase Young trade. Okay, I'm giving up a 3rd round pick for Chase Young. Everybody, shut the fuck up. I'm giving up a 3rd round pick for that player. I'm sorry. Okay, I think Pete Carroll could totally unlock his potential. He was drafted under that previous Washington regime. Like, come on, lots of toxicity over there. A fresh start would do him well. But you know who else was a Washington trade for the San Francisco 49ers that turned out really well?
Oh, Trent Williams.
So I'm just saying there's a little trauma with history there. It could turn out well for them again, but we'll see.
So you want a little coping right here real quick?
Ooh, give me some cope.
So Trent Williams is also quietly not as good this year.
Like, define not as good.
So his first 3 seasons in San Francisco, his grade, like his PFF grade, 91.9, 96.6, 91.7. Elite of elite. Sure. Like elite. You want to know what his PFF grade is so far this year?
75?
81. It's not bad.
But that's still so good. Like, dude, where's that relative to Charles Cross?
His pass blocking grade is 76. It's been in the high 80s, like almost 90. So I'm not saying he's bad. He's not bad. He's still the key to their team. But the point about him being 35, I'm telling you, this is cope. Like, I think the end is nearer than the beginning for that guy.
Of course it is.
That's their window. I don't think that team functions without Trent Williams.
So what did you say his overall grade was?
81.
81. Okay, what do you, without looking, what do you think Charles Cross's grade is?
Oh, God. Not good, dude. Like 62.
Yeah, it's 58.
Yeah, it's not good. He is not. He's not been great.
I have such conflicting feelings on him.
You came into the season super high on him. I told you I don't think he had proven himself as a franchise left tackle yet.
He had such a good game against the Rams, and that does back up. PFF does back that up.
He did play very well.
He
half
struggled.
Of that game.
Yeah, he struggled against Cleveland. Well, okay, Cleveland has an amazing defense and defensive line, but gosh, yeah, he's a frustrating player. I think what's going to suck what's going to suck. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with Charles Cross.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay. So he's in year 2 right now. Okay. So he's got the 5th year option, obviously. So 24, 25. I think they will decline his 5th year option, and he will probably still be a very mediocre, but like maybe sometimes above average left tackle in the NFL, one of the most important positions in the league. And they're going to be forced to pay him, and it's going to be close to $30 million a year.
I'm glad that's a few years out, dude.
Because that position is insanely valued.
I have not decided he's bad for what it's worth.
100%. He just needs to start taking steps, and it doesn't feel like he's doing it.
I mean, I'm going to give him a little while until you don't know how healthy he is. Like, it's a tough spot. He is not profiling out to be one of the best left tackles. That's just most great left tackles don't need to develop into being great. Mm-hmm. They usually come into the league and they are pretty good right from the start. Mm-hmm. So I think Seahawks fans probably need to realize he's probably most likely he's never going to be a Pro Bowl left tackle.
Justin Strickland, Cross has played a game and a half. That's a lie. He's played 4 games, 3.5 games. So
he played the half against the Rams, and then he's played the last
Arizona,
3 games. Yeah. But what
were we talking about?
I don't know. We're talking Niners? We're coping about basically the fact is the Niners are going to be just fine once they get healthy. Yeah. But the thing is the Chase Young piece, I'm with you that the price was fine.
Totally.
But Evan, you, Jeff, like half the people in our chat, like everyone was in serious coat mode about the Niners getting Young, and a lot of people on Twitter, Seahawks Twitter was like, "Oh my God, they clowned us. They did better." A lot of 49ers fans who were very quiet the day before when the Seahawks made the trade for Leonard Williams were like boasting and banging their chests. I don't think it's that big of a difference for them.
That's very possible. Yeah.
I mean, this was already, if not the best, one of the best pass rushing teams by a lot of metrics. I know exactly what people look at. Pass rush has not been their major problem.
Mm-hmm. It's their secondary.
And it's their run defense.
How's that safety playing that everybody talks about? What's his name? It's like
Hufanga?
Yeah, how's he playing this year for them? Because I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched a ton of Niner games this year.
He's really good. I mean, I'm such a fan of his. I don't know what his grade is. I'll look it up real quick. He's good. He's very good. 73, decent pass rush grade, good coverage grade. Yeah, he's doing just fine.
So let's talk about this for oh my God, I'm looking at the 49ers schedule. They're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, of course they will.
They're
We are the only thing in their way. Us and the Eagles.
So let me read off their schedule super fast, and you tell me how many losses are in here. Okay. Chat, participate. So chat, listen to this. Count how many losses I count or over the schedule and put it in the chat. How many losses? So at Jacksonville, that's after the bye, week 10, versus Tampa Bay at home, at Seattle, at Philly, versus Seattle at home, at Arizona, versus Baltimore at home, at Washington, and versus Rams at home.
I think there could be 4 losses in there.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
I think there could be.
I'm thinking 2 or 3.
So here's the thing. The Jacksonville game.
They're not losing that game.
That could be harder than you think.
No, it will be. It will be, but they'll win that game.
I think I think they're going to be the favorites. I think that's like a 60-40 chance that they win. I don't think it's like an 80-20 chance that they win that game.
So a lot of people are saying 3 at least. I'm curious to know. So mine was they drop 1 to Seattle, they lose against the Eagles, and maybe they lose to Baltimore.
The Ravens. Yeah. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out this Sunday. But Ravens are best team in football by a lot of people's point of view.
They have a lot of really. So I was reading into this game preview, and I'm sure we can get into it in a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some I think the Ravens match up really well against us.
But they match up well against everybody.
But particularly, I think
why? Tell me why. Are you
I'll give
talking
you the number.
defense? You talking offense?
So this is the number one stat that gave me concern. Okay, this like stood out to me. Lamar Jackson likes to run the football. We all know that. He's explosive on the ground. Seahawks are 32nd in rushing yards per attempt allowed to opposing quarterbacks. That's bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can contain Lamar on the ground. That's what concerns me. That's like my biggest concern.
I think that's fair. I don't think that they've really faced, other than Joshua Dobbs, I don't think they've really faced a lot of running quarterbacks so far this year. I also think that they haven't had their full defense in place for as long as you might think. So I actually feel almost the opposite, and maybe I'll eat these words. I think Lamar Jackson is MVP of the league right now and deserves every bit of praise he's getting. So none of this is meant to be. I fully understand how dynamic he is, how hard he's like maybe the most elusive running back in the league and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like that's all real. I also think the Seahawks are one of the best teams to potentially contain him. As a runner, I think you've got Devin Witherspoon, you got Jamal Adams, you got Bobby Wagner, you got Jordan Brooks, you've got some excellent tacklers out there. What are you smiling about?
I just have a future. I just have a future vision of Bobby Wagner like trying to run horizontally and Lamar just juking the shit out of him. I'm sorry.
That's not what would happen.
If it's downfield, sure, but like one juke.
I don't think Bobby's issue is getting juked. I think Lamar could just outrun him. That's the thing with it.
I think it's both, but
we'll see. I don't think Bobby like does not miss tackles. That is not something he does. He's like one of the best tacklers in the league, even now. But I hear you. Like my point is, I actually think the Seahawks have the team speed to potentially and the tackling ability to potentially contain Lamar. I also think they have the best secondary that he has faced
100%.
And he's going to have it. Here's the thing with Lamar that people don't know. You know how many turnover words he throws Geno has, and we've been upset about that. We spent the first part talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Lamar's got pretty much the same amount, almost the same amount of turnover word he throws. He's fumbled the ball 9 times this year. So this guy, when he gets out, fumbles. We could get Kobe Bryant back for just this game, so he can do one of his knockout the ball while Lamar's running. But I think there's a real chance that the Seahawks have a good game plan in place for him, and that he ends up forcing the ball or fumbling the ball. I don't hate this. I'm actually like I am oddly looking forward to seeing how this defense, the Seahawks defense, matches up against that. But I hear you. I think there's a reason they're favorites by 5.5.
The Ravens actually grade really well defensively as well. Let me list.
They're amazing.
They're amazing. And there is one area that I think Seattle can exploit here, and it's something you mentioned earlier in the show. So first of all, their pass defense, let's just go over this with the listeners. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Their pass defense is excellent. Okay. They're first in the NFL in passer rating allowed, as well as yards per attempt allowed. Okay. So first in the NFL, secondary wise. This is where they struggle as a defense. They allow nearly 4.5 yards per carry attempt to opposing running backs. So this is probably going to have to be a Kenneth Walker ground pound game. I could see Geno, if they try to test this Ravens. Here's the thing. I don't know if I'm confident enough in Seattle's like passing attack to overwhelm and just beat 1-1 the Ravens secondary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not confident in that. Where you exploit them is in the ground game.
I'm sorry. I was trying to mute and just coughed.
Is everybody just coughing these days? Because everybody's coughing. I think we all have COVID again.
I'm sure we're all just slowly dying. But you're 100% right. And the other thing, do you know? I mean, it's not like they're undefeated. They've lost twice.
Sure.
And do you know one of the teams they lost to in Baltimore?
The
Colts.
Colts.
You know who the quarterback was for that game?
Was it freaking Gardner Minshew? Oh my gosh.
So, and you know how they did that? They did it with like Zach Moss or whatever his name is on the ground. Like the 3 games that the Ravens have allowed 120, like over 100 yards rushing, they've either lost those games or they've been very close. Like the Tennessee Titans played them within a touchdown. The Arizona Cardinals last week played them within a touchdown. And both those teams put up rushing yards against the Ravens. So I do think that the run game is going to be big. I mean, we'll get into it. I want to get to Patreon questions here in a second, but this is the best. I think this is the best defense the Seahawks will have played. I like the Browns defense. It was a fantastic pass rush that the Browns had. They had some other holes in that defense. People know that the Ravens have the number one. They have the most sacks in the league. So everyone thinks like, oh, this is a kick-ass pass rush team. It's actually not that great of a pass rush team. Their coverage, though, is friggin' unreal. And so their pass rushers have more time to get home. And that's why the pass rush is good.
They're actually, you nailed it. I'm glad you mentioned that. They're only 15th in pressure rating. I shouldn't say only, but
it's mid. It's like, it's not dominant.
Before we get 6 in quarterback hits too.
Yes. Before we get to Patreon questions, let's take Andy Sewell's chat here. How much of Geno's regression, if you will, can be attributed to losing Dave Canales and replacing him with Greg Olsen? You like that question. Thank you, Andy, for the patron for the super chat. What made you laugh there, Mr. Evan?
Dave Canales is just like a Seahawks legend and totally like love him and miss him every day. Yeah.
You've got that much disdain for Dave Canales?
I just think
he's nothing?
Whatever. Yeah. Do you love him?
I don't love him, but I think he's done well with Baker Mayfield, and I think somehow he convinced John Walford to not leave to become a starter in LA for the Rams and to stick around in Tampa to be a backup.
Sure.
And I don't know that Greg Olsen, I mean, I don't know. I can't point to anything he's done that's made Geno better. I think it's actually a pretty astute comment. Maybe it's less about Canales. Maybe it's more about Greg Olsen.
Was Canales there when Geno slumped for 8 or 9 games last year?
He was.
Okay, then.
I don't feel. I think that narrative.
People act like Geno had an entire amazing year last year. It was a tale of 2 seasons. Let's be very clear. And they paid him off the first 10 games or whatever it was. That's what they did, and that's fine. But like, let's not pretend like Geno finished that season playing like he was in the first half.
He didn't. He definitely had a much stronger year. It gets to be a boring conversation. We've had it too many times, so I'm not gonna go back and forth with you on it. But I hear you. All right, let's take some Patreon questions. If folks haven't already, give the show a like, click subscribe. There's already been obviously some emergency pod material. You're going to want to be subscribed to the channel when that happens, so you'll get notified when we go live. And then head over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. Sign up right now. Get access to the Slack channel where everyone's talking, hundreds of fans, Seahawks fans. It is a good crew. Talks about Seahawks all the time. You'll make good friends in there. And it is not too late to join the Ring of Honor. And you will get to come out for what is going to be a wonderful steak dinner later this month in Seattle. So patreon.com/hawkblogger. And you also get to ask us questions every week. Evan, are you ready?
Hit me.
Jason A asks, if the Seahawks don't trade for Leonard Williams, do you think the 49ers would have still gone to get Chase Young?
That's a really good question. I do. I think they're still in a race against the Eagles as those top premium contenders in the NFC. I know we as the Seahawks currently at top of the NFC West want to feel that way, but those two teams are still in a completely different league than us. Let's not kid ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I think they do. Yes.
Yeah, me too. I think they have to be all in this year, like just in general. And when they lost, if they had, I think the better question is if they hadn't lost 3 in a row, would they have gone out and gotten Chase Young? I don't think they would have.
Yeah, now you've got me really interested to see who is a free agent for them next year. So why do you say they're all in this year?
Because they have created a ton of cap space this year that they plan to roll over to help them with some contracts next year. And I think they're planning to try to use it this year. I think that Trent Williams is also not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got to figure out what they're going to do with Brandon Ayuk and his deal. I think that if they don't win this year with all the guys that they have, I don't think there's really a case to be made of how they're going to be better in the future. They are at their peak right now. And maybe you could say, oh, Brock Purdy will get better. I think there's going to be other guys getting worse or leaving. So I think this is the year for them. And that's the big reason.
Fair. Did you know George Kittle's 30 years old?
Yeah.
That's old, man.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. He's still good.
Well,
all right.
Did he enter the league late?
No, I don't think so. He entered like Luke Wilson. He and Luke Wilson were the same year.
Oh my God. That's crazy. All right.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Our good pal Michael Mathis, who asks, how much does Leo Williams, as I guess that people are calling him, improve our ceiling? Brian says we'll likely pay him. That makes sense. But how much do you expect to pay him? And who do we let walk in order to keep him?
Why don't you take this one? I'm curious to hear your thoughts, actually.
Well, so the reason I think that they're going to sign him is, as a rewind back to last week when I made the case that they should trade for Leonard Williams, by the way, is that they've been looking for an impact defensive tackle forever. And they have not been able to find him in the draft. They have not been able to find him in free agency. They've not been able to find them via trade. And so they just need to be hunting for impact defensive tackles whenever they can find them. And if at the trade deadline, if that's a place that they could do it, great. And it happened to be that the Giants have shit the bed this year and were ready to let go of a very good player that they weren't going to re-sign at the end of the year. So now you get to bring him in. I think the Seahawks did not bring him in at all for this all-in, just try to win this year. And I think they've already said that. I think they brought him in because they see him as a key part of their defensive rotation at tackle for the next 3 years. I think they're absolutely going to try to re-sign him. So as far as what he does for their ceiling, look, we're going to have to see him on the field, but this is a guy that can play every position on that line. He can play end, he can play tackle. If he's just as good as he was in New York, no better, no change, I think he adds at least one win for the Seahawks this year. And I think he adds potentially, championship potential in future years. But I think he adds at least one win and maybe even one playoff win this year. That's kind of how I think about the change to ceiling.
Yeah, so something to keep in mind here, just from a contract perspective. You're probably aware of this, Brian. He's been franchise tagged twice in a row.
You can't franchise him.
It's basically impossible. That's enormous leverage over the team.
Yeah.
And I think combining with the fact that this is the one thing that bothered me about the trade is I thought they should have extended him as part of this trade. It's the same thing we talked about with Jamal Adams. From a process, I'm not saying don't trade for Leonard Williams. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're going to trade a second and a fifth, yeah, I feel it's pricey, but it's not do or die. You need to make an extension be included as a part of the terms of that trade. Because it really feels like he has enormous leverage over this team now. If he plays well, he's going straight to free agency. And it's just going to cost a lot.
That's the thing, though. I mean, we can talk about how much it's going to cost. Good players cost money.
They do.
And have the Seahawks shown that they're not willing to pay? I don't think that's true. People talk about Sheldon Richardson. They let him walk. Sheldon was not that good. I know that this is a hot topic with the analytics folks. Sheldon has never been that good. He was an okay player. Leonard Williams is not Sheldon Richardson. And so if he's legitimately Pro Bowl-ish at defensive tackle, You don't think they're going to roll up the truck to sign him? Like, they absolutely will. They just paid $17 million to Dre Jones.
Okay.
They've paid Jamal Adams, top of the market. That's not like they won't pay good players.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that would happen is if he's not good.
All right.
Otherwise, I think he sticks around.
Get ready to say goodbye to Quandre Dix next year, everybody. Just letting you know.
Yeah. Will
32
maybe?
years old, $22 million cap hit next year. Just saying.
I mean, they can restructure too, right?
He has one more year on his deal, 2024, that they could shift money into, but that would make it. No, wait, no, that's 2024 is the last year of his deal. No, they can't. It would be a cut. Or can we
An
pay
extension.
you less? Or an extent? Is he worthy of an extension?
We'll find out. He's been to 3 Pro Bowls, whether we think that's legitimate or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reality is, though, is like this team doesn't have like a crazy amount of cap space next year.
No.
Like, they've got some guys they're having to pay. So,
yeah. It'll be interesting. All right. Another one from Michael that I just want to give to you. Can we talk about the Pete Carroll article from The Athletic?
Oh my gosh. Michael Sean Dugar. Is that how you say his last name, Dugar?
I think something like that.
Okay. I'm glad I didn't mess it up because I love him. There was one quote that was so funny to me, and I'm literally pulling it up on my timeline because it was so funny. It's the Justin Britt one. Can I read this out loud?
Yeah, sure.
So everybody go subscribe to The Athletic. This is on Michael Sean Dugar's timeline. Amazing Seahawks beat reporter for The Athletic. Justin Britt is quoted as saying, and I quote, "He would do what he called, Pete Carroll, the safe place. Everyone had a bullshit story about them, and if none of it was true, but if you didn't know, it seemed believable." Uchenna Nwosu said, "He tells us all these stories other guys went through, selling the hell out of that story, making it sound really good and believable." And then Britt says, "He had people believe that my mom had this anger towards me and resented me because of how large my head was at birth. I had to play along with that for like 4 years." Do you know how much credibility Pete Carroll earned with me, knowing that he bullied the shit out of Justin Britt? Like, that to me earned major points. And then the one about, hopefully I'm not like giving away this entire article, but like KJ Wright and Malcolm Smith talking about how like Pete told our video crew, "Hey, if anyone trips at practice during a drill or a route, if they fall down, you've got to edit it and slice it with sniper footage." So Kerr said everybody would be talking, and then the lights would just go down low. It would cut down to dramatic music, and a sniper scene would show up in a movie, like American Sniper. It would be like, "I have an eye on him. I'm locked on the target." It's like a minute-long build-up, and everyone is like, "Oh no, who's going to get got?" And then the sniper would shoot, and the guy would fall at practice, and blood would splash out. That is the funniest shit of all time. That is one of my favorite Seahawks articles of all time.
Well, I mean, we wonder why people want to come back. You know, we've seen it happen time and again. People talk about how the culture here is different than other places, and I don't think that's just PR. I think that's real. I think it is. I think it's unique, and I think it's something that we get with Pete Carroll that we don't realize until it's gone. So it was
such a troll.
It is pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
It.
All right, let's take a few more questions. We got a question from Henry Martinez. What is? Oh, well, we just kind of asked that. Well, he asked it a little differently. What's the ceiling for the Seahawks team now with Leonard Williams? If our O-line gets healthy, are we good enough to be the best teams in the NFC?
That's such a big if, because I think you're right, Brian. I have to give you kudos on this. Brian, you were saying, I don't know if you were saying it publicly. You were saying it privately. I can verify this as an outside person. Brian was saying like 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe longer, Abe Lucas ain't coming back this year. Most likely.
I'm worried.
Not a guarantee, but you were suspicious. And week after week, here we are. What are we in, week 8? Something like that?
Yeah, week 9.
Week 9. No Abe Lucas. Results seem fuzzy. Doesn't seem like momentum's going his way to get healthier and return to practice. So
if play along for a second though, if he does come back and the O-line's healthy, and yeah, Leonard Williams into the mix,
Sure.
Do you think the Seahawks? How far do you think the Seahawks can get? Can they beat an Eagles team in the playoff? Can they beat a 49ers team in the playoffs?
Gun to my head. I don't think they can.
Put it at a percentage. If before they added Leonard Williams and like with the O-line they've been running out, I would say like 10%, 5% chance that they win that type of game, right? I think there's a chance, but not like, I mean, last year was a worse team and they were ahead of the 49ers at halftime. So like
maybe go a little higher, like maybe 20%.
20%, right?
Maybe.
So then you add back, if you really do have your offensive line and Leonard Williams lives up to what we hope he lives up to, I think it gets up to like 40%. Like,
ooh, do you think he's a 20%? Oh, or you're saying O-line and it? Okay,
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
I think I get into the 30 to 40% range.
I don't think Abe Lucas and Leonard Williams. Maybe I'm unreasonably optimistic about how like Stone Forsythe and what's his name, Jason Peters can hold down the right tackle spot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Removing Jake Curhan from the equation inspires my confidence like a lot.
Dude.
And here's the thing: it's like if Abe Lucas is coming back, is he 100%?
Let's assume. Otherwise, they wouldn't bring him back.
I don't think it's a 20% jump. I think it's like it goes up to 30%.
Okay. Yeah, we're not totally far off.
Here's the situation. I'm trying to think like of how the playoffs work. Is there a situation where the Niners and Eagles would play each other like in the divisional round, and then Seattle would play God knows who, and then they advance to the NFC Championship game? Yeah, that's possible. But if they face the Eagles or the Niners in the divisional round,
we're going to get a close-up look. We get two against the 49ers, one against the Eagles. I think we'll know. We got a game against the Cowboys. The Cowboys could knock out some other, one of these teams. We'll
I want to believe. It's just like I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I don't think they are there yet. I don't think anyone could really say that they're there yet. This weekend against the Ravens is one of the first real opportunities to see, okay, can they? It's going to be fun to see that game.
100%.
All right, a couple more here. Kaylin asks, this is a little bit like we just talked about, but I want to go a little deeper, Evan. With just 17 million in cap space for 2024 and only 41 players signed, how would we manage to extend Leonard Williams? Should we let Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner walk? If we could trade or release someone without having to have a lot of dead cap money, who would it be? So, yeah.
So, by the way, that 2024 cap number is not with Jordan Brooks on the roster.
Right.
So it's going to cost a lot of money.
Well, let's start there. Would you sign Jordan Brooks, younger, way less important position, or Leonard Williams if you could only have one? Assume Leonard Williams is good.
I think I lean Jordan Brooks.
Easy choice for me, Leonard Williams.
I think, really?
Easy choice.
Just because of positional value?
Positional value is night and day.
Like same price. It's not going to be, but like same price.
Similar price. Yeah. Like you basically get one, you don't get the other.
I don't know. Jordan Brooks has played really well this year.
He has. That is not a slight on Jordan Brooks.
No, 100%. But I feel like he's starting to make more flash plays. Like, I don't know.
He is.
That does something to the average viewer, at least in my mind. So 17 million in cap space, like you said, that's with like what, 43 people or something. They said 41 players under contract. Yeah. So that's another 14 players that they have to fit under the cap at like $600K a year. So it's like, think of it. That's like 7-8 mil gone right off the top. So 17 mil goes down to 10 mil. And then think about it. IR and practice squad and random miscellaneous bullshit. Another 3 to 4, maybe 5 million. So now you're talking the Seahawks have like $5.7 million in cap space. Not good. Not good. To fill out the roster, practice squad, IR, draft picks, that type of stuff. That's the one I forgot. Okay. So they have like 5.7. Here's the easy cap moves that they could make in 2024. Quandre Diggs, you save a minimum of 11 mil cutting him. And no, actually you save only 11 mil because I realized there was not an additional year on his deal. Will Dissly's gone. You save $7 million. I think that's a no-brainer. We got to have a Geno Smith conversation at some point.
Well, not now. 5.9 million for Brian Monet. That's an easy one.
Oh, 100%, Brian. Yeah, you're further down the roster than I am right now.
That's a big number.
Julian Love.
Nick Ballore is 2.9 million. Gone.
Julian Love 5.7. Are you keeping
Julian
him?
Love's a question mark. Depends on what you do with Quandre Diggs.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
And I think the one that you don't want to talk about that needs to be potentially discussed is Tyler
100% cut is Jaron Reed. Absolutely.
No way.
He's
bastard.
gone. He's gone.
You
Jaron Reed's gone.
Quinn Jefferson's not a free agent, so you're not going to get him anyway.
No, that's a fair one.
But no, Tyler Lockett, you haven't mentioned.
Didn't they just do a restructure on him, though? I feel like they did. They did do a restructure in 2023.
Ooh.
So what? It makes it harder to cut. Get this. Get this. Tyler Lockett's cap hit in 2024 is $27 million. You only get this. Get this. You only save $7 million cutting him.
Well, $7 million's not nothing.
But like 19 of that is you're fucked.
Yeah. So I think there's some guys to.
There are some guys, but that's like not a ton of. I don't know. That's not like splash money.
But again, Evan, I mean, you can fit guys in with big deals that are getting void years. You can do all sorts of stuff to spread out out stuff. So but
should we go over all the high level free agents for 2023 or 2024?
Nah, it'll take too long. Okay. We got other questions we got to get to. But like I think part of it is like 2024 might be its own issue. You just have to get through 2025. Like I think a lot of guys come off the list. I
have two quick questions, fast questions. Are you giving Darrell Taylor like a prove it deal?
Oh, Darrell, he'll be a fifth year.
You're right.
He's a restricted free agent, so you don't have to.
I totally forgot. I thought he was unrestricted.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes my questions.
All right. I want to get to
Damian Lewis. Extend or say goodbye? I think you have to bring him back.
I think you get the cheapest between him and Phil Haynes.
Oh my god.
Honestly. What's the problem? There's not that much of a difference between those two guys.
That's fair. I'm not gonna.
There isn't.
I'm not gonna argue against that. But
I mean, Anthony Bradford's one guard, and then you got to figure out one other. And I think you just Phil Haynes was pretty cheap this year. If he's cheaper, I don't know that I'm going long term with Damian Lewis. I don't think I am.
Your left butt cheek has Phil Haynes stamped on it.
I'm the only one that's ever been absolutely on target with Phil Haynes.
It's okay. I've never been irrationally in love with a player ever. Ever.
All right. Last question we're gonna have to take before we start previewing the game more seriously. Why do people? This comes from Zach. Why do people talk about drafting a quarterback being the answer to Geno's mediocrity, given that 10% of first-round quarterbacks actually become top 12 in the league, and only after years of development? Those are slim odds at best. What is the real option if we let him walk?
Geno walk?
Yeah.
You'd probably there's no way you ride your hopes on like a rookie quarterback next year. I think you'd have to bring an outside. You'd probably extend Drew Lock and run with Drew Lock.
He's on a 2-year deal. You got him for next year too, I think.
Is he?
I thought so.
Really? If that's the case, no. 1 year, $4 million.
1 year?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You'd have to bring in an outside veteran, I think.
Yeah, they'd probably think about it like the Matt Flynn, Russell Wilson situation, although they put a lot of money into Flynn. So, I mean, if they wanted to get out of the deal with Geno after next year, is there like, if they wanted him next year but not the year after, is there some kind of
next year? But no, they'd be totally fine. I'm pretty sure. I think he has a big option bonus in 2024. So if on the fourth year, let me see, okay. So, I there was a big roster bonus. So on the 5th day of the 2024 league year, he gets so that's like March 11th, I think. He will earn a $9.6 million roster bonus. So they could cut him before that and actually save more than 14 million actually.
Oh yeah. No, the next year there's like a very clear out. Like, well, this is a 1 year kind of prove it deal in some ways.
Totally.
But I think that's the question is, okay, so you can get the money, but show me the path to where you improve your quarterback play while doing that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to improve the quarterback play, I think you'd have to look outside at free agency. Kirk Cousins is kind of the obvious one, but he just got injured. So, yeah, I don't know if you reliably can.
And I don't know that you can't outbid somebody in the free agent market for a quarterback that's better than Geno Smith. Geno Smith just signed probably the most team-friendly, decent quarterback deal
100%.
like in 10 years, 20 years. Like, so
now I will say I'm going to be championing this long and hard. Seahawks better draft a fucking quarterback next year.
Yeah, 100%. People get this twisted. They think I'm like dyed in the wool Geno. Like I'm 100% cheering for Geno, and I want him to prove everybody wrong, all that stuff. I thought they should have drafted a quarterback this year. I wanted Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I was pounding the table hard for him. I just didn't want them to draft a quarterback at 5.
Yeah.
But like they absolutely, and next year is the perfect year to add in. Like the roster is now like they wouldn't have Devin Witherspoon if they had drafted a quarterback. That's the whole point. They would maybe not have JSN, or like they now have a good roster.
And you know what?
A rookie quarterback in there. Great.
They're good quarterbacks that fall to the back half of the first round all the time. You do not need to be a top 10 pick, top 5 pick. You don't have to.
They need to draft a quarterback every year until they find one. Like
100%. I don't know. I don't understand why teams don't do that.
I don't either.
It feels like such a basic, like, just do it. Like
at least every other year. But like yeah, I don't understand. So
can I ask one question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you take Brock Purdy over Geno Smith?
Would I take Brock Purdy over Geno Smith? No. I mean, like a contract and all?
No, no. Just play this year.
No. I would have potentially before the year started. I've seen enough now from Brock Purdy about what his limits are that I hadn't yet seen.
With just 3 bad games?
It's not that. It is there's a shape to his game. His passes are almost always his like intermediate over the middle. Like he does not throw outside the hashes. And so I think part of what's going on is teams have started to figure out where he wants to put the ball and are making it a little bit harder and anticipating some of those things. And so I don't know. And I also, he has not shown that he can be a guy that can win it at the end, which is a pretty big deal.
That's fair.
So I think if you put Brock Purdy on the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks would be 2 or 3 losses worse than they are with Geno.
Ooh, I love this question. What are the Niners with Geno Smith?
Man, with the throws that Shanahan asks him to make, I think they're at least 1 win better. I mean, they're already really good, so it's not like you can be a 20-win team when there's 17 games in a season. But
I think they're 7-1.
Oh, like this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 1 to 2 wins more than they have right now. I think is probably right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew's a free agent next year.
Yeah. Minshew. I wanted Minshew this year anyway. I don't think he is. I don't think he's better than Geno, but I think he is a totally passable veteran starter, and you could bring a rookie along with him.
I love that Blaine Gabbert's still in the NFL, by the way.
Oh my God.
He's a free agent next year.
Oh my God.
His career earnings must be decent.
Yeah. All right. Thank you to the folks on the patron questions, patreon.com/hawkblogger. Always appreciate the questions. We don't always get to all of them, but we do our best and appreciate you submitting them. Patreon.com/hawkblogger, and give the show a like if you haven't. All right, Evan, let's talk about this game, man. How do you think Leonard Williams changes this game? Like, as a Seahawks fan, do you have a feeling of like how he changes the way the Seahawks, their chances in this game, and the way that they'll be able to play defense?
Do you really expect him to have like a crazy impact on week 1 with us?
I don't know about crazy, because this is a really good offensive line that they're going up against. Like, maybe, if not the best, they're top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that he gives them much better chance than they would have without him.
I just don't feel like he's the key to this game.
So you don't see much of a change?
I don't see much of a change, and
Yeah.
that's why I feel kind of dumbfounded. Is like,
who do you think is the key to this game, or what part of the Seahawks needs to play really well for them to have a chance to win this game?
Kenneth Walker.
Running.
I am sick and tired of losing the time of possession battle, by the way. I hate it. Did you see the Browns Seahawks time of possession lopside? It was crazy. This is just like a gut feeling, but I like owning control of possession. I like resting our defense. Like, that to me is a key. We need to do that. And I don't think this offense could, God, this sucks to say. I don't think this offense could like put up 40 in a lighter against the Ravens. I don't think they could. They need to slow this game down and ground pound it.
I don't know that many teams could put up 40 against the Ravens defense.
But going into the season, you would have said we better expect that the Seahawks be able to.
Yeah, that is absolutely the bit that's flipped, right? It was the offense.
The talent's still there.
Yeah.
The talent. We cannot say that this offense has suddenly lost all.
No.
I'm not saying you are, by the way, but like fans in general. We cannot say because Abe Lucas is gone that this offense is fucked. I'm sorry. Unacceptable.
Let's do a quick check on this. Who on the Seahawks at the players has underperformed the most this year? Because I can think of a bunch of guys that have overperformed, but I can tell you one guy that comes to mind for me.
On which side of the ball?
Let's start with offense. You can say any side. I don't think there's many to pick from on defense, by the way.
Yeah, underperformed. Is it crazy to say? I almost wanted to say Kenneth Walker, but I don't feel like he's got a ton of opportunity.
No, I think he's actually done reasonably well. I think he's right about what you probably expect.
Actually, I'll start off with the obvious. I think Geno Smith has underperformed.
I think that's probably fair. I think he started off performing to expectations and to the point where I thought, I mean, the Lions game was excellent. Like he won player of the week or whatever that week and was excellent. It's actually one of the best quarterback games of the year by most metrics.
Oh, there's an easy answer to this. I'm going to get flamed for this. DK Metcalf.
That's it. I mean, I would say DK and then a little bit Tyler.
Yeah.
Not like as egregiously, but I think both of them, like, this was like the dynamic duo receivers, and I don't feel like they've been dominant, like to where teams are trying to figure out how to stop these two. I'd say JSN has also been below expectations. So like all three receivers, I don't think have lived up to expectations this year.
I would agree. Yeah.
I'd say all three tight ends have been exceeded expectations.
Well,
I think Disley's played really well for what he's supposed to be. Okay. Like
blocking tight end. Yeah.
He's an excellent blocker and helps the team. I think Charbonnet, Walker have all played well. I think the offensive line generally has overperformed.
Yeah.
I think the receivers.
Yeah. How about Boye Mafe?
Are you seriously saying he underperformed?
No. I just wanted to know how you think he's performed this year, like relative.
Oh my God. He's made, I think Jeff and I especially look foolish. Like
100%.
I thought everyone was like the most improved player this year. And I'm like, okay, this is just camp hype. From what I see, this guy is a rotational pass rusher, good player, not great player. He's doing things, Evan. I don't know if you saw, I looked this up. He's like the first, I can't remember. He's one of the first players in this to have 5 sacks in 5 straight games, or a sack in 5 straight games in his first 2 years as a pro. Since like, I mean, it's been a while, and it's been like, it's Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons was the last guy. And the guys that have done it are like Javon Curse and Von Miller. And like, it's like this list of some of the best pass rushers that have ever played. And he's a good run defender. He's one of the best run defending edges. So like, all of a sudden, here's the thing. He is now the equivalent of, who's a good comparison? I've been looking this up. He's like a second tier pass rusher. He's like borderline Pro Bowler. And then if you look at Leonard Williams is essentially Eric Armstead, Grady Jarrett, that kind of defensive tackle. People know those guys a little bit more. He's pretty much similar to Javon Hargrave, by the way, as well. Pretty darn similar. So like, I think now they've got an interior pass rusher and they've got this edge pass rusher. Could be really interesting. I do think Leonard Williams is going to have a bigger role to play in this game.
How about Tariq Woolen?
Woolen's underperformed.
100%.
Absolutely.
I've kind of been waiting to see like when people are going to mention his name. I know he just came off an interception at a.
Jeff read me the riot act that I brought up a couple weeks ago that I was being really stupid, saying that he was the third of the 3 cornerbacks, and maybe he's just looking like an above average cornerback instead of an elite cornerback.
Let's be clear. It's not that he's bad.
No,
nobody thinks he's bad.
No,
it's just we were like, our expectations were like, this guy's like top 5 in the NFL, if not better.
I think it says more about the guys they added in some ways, though, right? We were like, Woolen is the standard for this team at corner, and then Trey Brown and Weatherspoon are now like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Trey Brown he's had a crazy year.
He's been really good.
I'm glad his injury thing isn't an issue.
So how many points do the Seahawks have to score to win this game?
That's a tough question. Does 27 do it? I think so, probably. I have a hard time seeing the Ravens putting up 27 plus on this defense, I think.
Interesting, right? Like, look, the Seahawks defense from last year against the Browns last week, we lose that game by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
We get blown out.
We go into Baltimore with this team. It's we are just like, you and I are making jokes at this point because they're like, well, we're just going to see how much they score. Like, it's going to be a joke. There's no way they're going to be able to stop Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, all that stuff. There's a legitimate reason to be like curious about how this defense is going to perform. I think the Seahawks defense is creeping up there. I think they already have proven that they're, by almost any metric, they're a top 10 defense already. Now it's a question of, can they get into the elite? And these are the types of games that help figure that out. For what it's worth, the Ravens have scored over 27 points 3 times. 3 times this year. They are undefeated in those games. That means that they are only 4-2 when they score 27 points or less.
Yeah,
I think 25 is kind of the number for me. I think 25 is the number. I think they gotta get over 25 points, I think, is the number in this game. And do you think it's a bigger question about whether the Seahawks can hold the Ravens under that, or that the Seahawks can score more than that?
That the Seahawks can score more than that.
Yeah.
I have so many. Yeah, this offense, they've kind of lost my confidence with the exception of let me put it this way. If they had not finished that fourth quarter drive, Gino had not finished that fourth quarter drive, I'd be really nervous right now.
Yeah.
We're having a totally different conversation about these Seahawks if they're 4-3 and they just lost to the Browns at home.
This is the first team the Seahawks have played that it feels the margin on offense feels very thin. Like the Browns one, I definitely felt like it was iffy, but this one, it feels like if they don't have a run game in this one, this could get real bad. Like there's not going to be a lot of easy throws. The tackling's really good. They're fast. So I think the Seahawks have to run the ball in this game. I think you hit it right on the head. That's absolutely critical. And they better freaking start playing Zach Charbonnet some more. I think he's an important part of this game. I think it's how many points they score is the bigger deal. The other thing I will say, Evan, is turnovers. I think the defense almost certainly has to get one, if not two turnovers in this game. And I think it's possible, but I think those are the two things that stand out to me. So
let's not forget what the Ravens did to the Lions 2 weeks ago, by the way. So
that was a whooping, man.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday, but.
Well, I know, but you see that, and I'll then raise you losing to the Colts at home and Gardner Minshew and barely beating the Cardinals and Joshua Dobbs and barely beating the Tennessee Titans. So they barely beat the Steelers. They barely beat the Bengals when Joe Burrow couldn't move. So
here's the
problem. I don't know that they've had as many impressive wins as people make it out to be.
But here's the problem. I can't say that same thing about the Seahawks. I can't say they let it get out of hand or they forced it to get out of hand to any team that they've played. Right? They just don't do that.
Well, I mean, the Giants.
24-3. That's a good point. Yeah. 24 points. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, it should be a lot more.
It should have been more.
It should have been a lot more. All right. So let's get to predictions in this one, Evan. Who is going to win this game and what is the final score?
Why don't you start us off?
Oh man. I literally haven't decided. So just so you know, the Ravens, let's actually check the latest. Last time I heard, the Ravens were 5.5 point favorites, and they're now 6 point favorites. Consensus 6 point favorites, and let's check the over under. Over under is still 42.5. Well, saying consensus is 5.5. Anyway, so let's say it's 5.5. Ravens favorite 44. It's 44.5 now. So that would imply a 26-21 game, 25-20 game, 25-20. 25-20 Ravens is the implied expected score of this game. Mm-hmm. I think that's about right as like an expectation going in. The Ravens should win this game. I can't pick against the Seahawks right now. I just like the vibe, and I get to because like this is a Seahawks show. I'm picking the Seahawks to win this game. I think there's going to be a fumble. I think there's going to be an interception. I think there's going to be a couple turnovers by the defense. I think the offense is going to surprise the same way that they surprised with 17 points in the first quarter against the best defense in the league last week. And I think the Seahawks are going to come away with a 24-21 victory over the Ravens.
I love that. I hope that happens. I am not going to predict that. I'm going to predict a very sure Ravens victory. And I think Geno Smith is going to make multiple high-cost turnover-worthy plays. I think he's going to throw 3 interceptions. I think the Ravens are going to score 31 points, and the Seahawks will score 17. I do not like the vibes on this one.
What would you be saying if Geno throws 3 interceptions in this game?
I know who Geno Smith is. He's good when the things around him go well, and he's bad when the things around him go bad. I don't take pleasure in reporting this, but like people act like Geno is some top 5 quarterback stud that's going to carry us against crazy good defenses. I don't know.
I don't know who these people are. I've seen a few.
It's a cult following. This is a real thing. These people exist.
I've seen so many more people that are just like, Geno's not it. We need to bench Geno. I've seen so many more.
They're stupid. Like Drew Lock is not good. Okay, obviously, but like Geno Smith is also not like some top 5 god. Like,
yeah.
Mark Andrews is probably going to have a big day against us. I know we haven't struggled against tight ends this year, but like historically, I have trauma, and I just have my brain just goes there. So.
I think everything you said about this game, other than I don't know about the Geno picks, but I think even like Geno throwing at least a couple picks, I think all that is super reasonable. And if I'm looking at this just totally blind and objectively, I think that's a very reasonable prediction. Mm-hmm. I also have just watched enough of these teams, and I'm dug in here. I'm like oddly optimistic about this game, and I can't. And the weirdest part is usually when I feel that way, I can point to there's this specific advantage, this matchup that I think people aren't realizing that's going to be better. In this case, the only one that I can say is I think the Seahawks defense is better equipped to slow down Lamar Jackson than people are giving it credit for. So that's the one thing that I think I see differently than others. And I think they have no tape on how the Seahawks are going to use Leonard Williams. So they don't know where he's going to line up. They don't know how he's going to be played. They don't know how to prepare for him. So they have a little bit of an advantage just for this week in that regard. But if I'm being real honest, it's just a gut. It's just a gut feel that 10 a.m. game in Baltimore, I don't know. I think it's going to go well for the Seahawks. I hope I'm right. But I've definitely picked the Seahawks to lose and hoped I've been wrong. But this time I feel like something good's coming.
My number one hope for this game is that there's a lot of field goals because
I
have content for field goals.
Oh God. So. Oh God. All right. Well, Justin Tucker certainly is not the guy I want to be on the line for a game winner, and neither is Jason Myers, to be honest. Like, and for the opposite reasons.
Jason Myers has bounced back. Do you want to admit that?
What does he bounce back from? He has one field goal over 50 yards.
He had like one bad game.
He had 2 bad games.
Because he missed like a 54-yard field goal?
He missed 3 field goals.
Yeah, that was one game. So he had one bad game.
No, I'm not gonna take this any farther with you. He is the worst free agent signing on this team. He's missed 4 field goals. He missed those over the course of 2 games, I'm pretty sure. So I think Jason Myers and Nick Bellore, if they weren't on this team, just imagine the additional talent that we'd actually have on this team. So I hope he keeps making field goals though, because we've already paid him. So
are you rooting for him?
You know what? I'm absolutely rooting for him to make it. Every time he gets out there, every single time, even when the Seahawks scored the game-winning touchdown at the end of the game, I was like, he's going to brick this extra point, and we're going to be up by 3 instead of 4. Like 100% was like, there's no way he is going to do the Jason Myers. I have zero confidence in that guy. Mm-hmm. And I know that you just put it up because you're fucking trolling all of us, but that guy, ugh.
He didn't miss a field goal for like a year, Ryan. Why'd I call you Ryan? He hasn't missed a field goal for a year, Brian.
Yeah,
whatever. We could do.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Never will be. All right, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to Evan Hill for coming on at Evan Hill HB on Twitter. I'm Brian Nemhauser. You can find me at Hawk Blogger. Have a wonderful evening, all. Patreon.com/HawkBloggers. Sign up. We will see you there. Until then, go Hawks.